5 queens ruled the stage like no one else. This is Red Velvet. When SM Entertainment announced a new girl group in 2014, the expectations were sky high. After all, this was the same company that gave the world Girls' Generation, FX, and BoA. So when Red Velvet debuted with Happiness, the reaction was confused. It wasn't the polished pop powerhouse people expected. It was noisy, experimental, almost chaotic, blending tribal beats, reggae influences, and surreal visuals of explosions and talking animals. It felt more like an art school project than a traditional idol debut. But beneath the weirdness, there was something intriguing. Irene, the elegant leader, Seulgi, the charismatic dancer, Windy, the powerhouse vocalist, and Joy, the fresh-faced rookie with star presence. They didn't blend in, and maybe that was the point. Red Velvet wasn't trying to be the next Girls' Generation. They were trying to be something else. Still, the concept felt incomplete until SM added a fifth member, Yeri, in early 2015. It was a bold move. Most groups are locked in at debut, but with Yeri, the puzzle clicked. The group felt fuller, more dynamic, and with that, they dropped Ice Cream Cake. The track was infectious, eerie, and oddly addictive. It marked their first #1 on the Gaon album chart and gave them their first music show win. Suddenly, people stopped seeing them as just a curiosity. They started seeing them as real contenders. This is also when their signature identity began to take shape. The Red side represented their quirky, energetic pop drum style. Songs like Dum Dum, with its robotic chanting and rapid-fire chorus, and Russian Roulette, a deceptively sweet track with a deadly twist, define this half. On the flip side, the Velvet side explored moodier, more mature territory. Tracks like Be Natural, a remake of an old SES song, and Automatic, with its R&B influences and slow, sensual rhythm, proved they could switch lanes effortlessly. By embracing this duality, Red Velvet stood out in a saturated industry. Where most groups chose a single concept and stuck to it, Red Velvet built their brand on unpredictability. One moment they'd drop a hyper bubblegum track like Rookie, full of bizarre hooks and animated visuals. The next, a sleek, haunting single like Peekaboo, wrapped in mystery and murder-themed elegance. No one else was doing this, and if they were, no one was doing it this well, and this unpredictability started to build them a cult-like following. Fans who didn't just want music, they wanted to see what Red Velvet would dare to do next. Each comeback felt like a gamble, but Red Velvet always made it pay off. In 2017, Red Flavor felt like a cultural reset, dominating Korean charts all summer and became the anthem of the season. The bright, fruity visuals and addictive chorus made it more than just catchy, it became iconic. Then came Bad Boy in early 2018, the complete opposite. Velvet at its peak, black outfits, smoky visuals, and a sultry beat that leaned into hip-hop R&B. It was the group's most successful track internationally, charting on Billboard and cementing them as more than just a domestic act. That's the magic of duality. It wasn't a gimmick, it was strategic, giving them room to evolve, experiment, and appeal to multiple audiences. While some fans loved the fun, chaotic Red concepts, others were drawn to the sophisticated, slow-burning Velvet side. Red Velvet didn't force fans to pick one lane, they offered both. And with every comeback, they kept testing the boundaries of what K-pop could sound like. Power Up felt like a kid show on acid with its quirky chants and pastel visuals, yet it swept music shows. Really Bad Boy doubled down on Halloween Camp, complete with werewolves and high notes that went viral. Then Zimzalabim arrived, arguably their most polarizing track yet. The song structure was unconventional, the beat chaotic, the chorus almost jarring. But again, it worked. It sparked debate, reaction videos, and proved that Red Velvet didn't care about playing it safe. Where most groups aimed for consistency, Red Velvet became shapeshifters. They embodied cute, sexy, mysterious, elegant, and avant-garde, sometimes within the same album. That level of versatility didn't just show range, it showed confidence. By the end of 2019, Red Velvet was at their peak. They had dropped 3 wildly different albums as part of the ReVe Festival trilogy, Day 1, Day 2, and Finale, each showcasing a different side of their artistry. That finale gave birth to Psycho, a hauntingly elegant track that many consider one of their best ever. It blended emotional vulnerability with a polished sound, highlighting everything that made Red Velvet special: vocals, visuals, and vision. It was a mic drop moment. But right when things were heating up, life hit pause. At the end of 2019, Wendy suffered a serious injury during rehearsals, forcing the group into hiatus. No comebacks, no performances, just silence. For many idol groups, long breaks are risky. Out of sight often means out of mind in the fast-paced world of K-pop. But Red Velvet was different. Even in that absence, their impact kept echoing. Fans held on to Psycho for over a year. It topped year-end charts, racked up millions of streams, and became a quiet anthem for the group's resilience. Without flashy promotions or constant content, Psycho carried them through the silence, proof of their music's staying power. When they finally returned in 2021, it wasn't with a bang. It was with Queendom, a light, cheerful track that didn't scream for attention. Instead, it reminded everyone Red Velvet never left. The comeback wasn't about reclaiming the spotlight. It was about recentering themselves. After years of extremes, Queendom felt grounded, even subtle, and yet it still charted well and brought comfort to fans who had waited patiently. But Red Velvet wasn't interested in repeating what worked. With each new project, they leaned deeper into their artistry. Feel My Rhythm in 2022 was an ambitious release, a song that blended classical orchestration with K-pop's modern textures. It was experimental, delicate, and elegant, the kind of risk only a group like Red Velvet could pull off. By 2023, Red Velvet had become something rare in K-pop, a group whose relevance wasn't tied to virality or chart numbers, but to consistency and artistic identity. Their comeback with Chill Kill wasn't just a typical comeback. It felt intentional and powerful. The track was eerie, understated, and cinematic, a far cry from the flashy trends dominating the scene, but it was unmistakably Red Velvet. The song played with minimalism and mood, slowly building tension rather than chasing hooks. The music video? A visual storytelling piece with gothic imagery, symbolic elements, and a storyline that left fans dissecting every frame. It wasn't designed to top TikTok trends. It was designed to last. And that's what Red Velvet had mastered, making music that endures. They weren't just evolving sonically, their visuals matured too. Every comeback became an aesthetic event. Their styling, concepts, and set design influenced countless newer groups. You could see traces of Red Velvet's boldness in Les Seraphim's styling, in aespa's dual-world visuals, even in the way IVE played with elegance and edge. Quietly, Red Velvet had become the blueprint, and they weren't slowing down. In 2024, the group hit their 10th anniversary, a massive milestone in K-pop, where few groups survive past their 7th year. Instead of leaning on nostalgia, they celebrated by pushing forward. Anniversary content was subtle but classy. Fan meetings, thoughtful messages, and a renewed focus on connecting with Revoluves. It wasn't flashy, it was genuine. And the members? Each one had carved out their own path. Irene became a staple in fashion, collaborating with luxury brands and fronting magazine covers with effortless grace. Her aura, cool, elegant, slightly mysterious, became iconic in itself. Seulgi, always known for her dancing, began exploring more artistic spaces. From solo performances to visual art collaborations, she became a muse in the performance art world. Wendy leaned fully into her vocal strength, shining in solo albums and musical theater. Her voice wasn't just strong, it was emotional and timeless. Joy found her groove in acting and variety, bringing charm and relatability to every screen she touched. Whether in dramas or reality shows, she brought warmth. And Yeri, the youngest, grew into her own identity, exploring songwriting, acting, and showing depth as an artist many overlooked early on. And together, they became more than just a girl group, a symbol of longevity, reinvention, and quiet influence. Red Velvet didn't need to dominate headlines to shape the industry. They didn't need viral moments to validate their impact. While others chased trends, they built a world carefully, consistently, and unapologetically on their own term. What makes them silent legends? It's in the details most people miss. They were never the loudest group in the room, but when they released something, the whole room paid attention. When newer groups experiment with dual concepts, you see Red Velvet's DNA. When artists blend classical music with pop, they're following Red Velvet's lead. When groups choose unpredictability as their strength, they're following a playbook Red Velvet wrote. They taught the industry that artistry doesn't have to be flashy, that concert work can be intellectual, that pop music can be eerie, theatrical, minimal, and still resonate. They pushed boundaries without making noise about it. They just did it. Think about it. How many groups can drop a song like Zimzalabim, completely polarizing and weird, then follow it up with something as elegant as Psycho? How many can make classical music samples feel natural in K-pop? How many can disappear for over a year and come back like they never left? That's the Red Velvet effect. They don't chase the spotlight finds them. In the end, their story isn't about one explosive moment. It's about a quiet revolution, a decade of subtle shifts that changed the landscape in ways people are still realizing. They prove that longevity in K-pop comes from staying true, not chasing relevance. That's what makes them legends. They didn't have to scream to be remembered. They just had to be Red Velvet. Red Velvet dared to be bold. Will you?